Hey everybody, today I'm going to go over how to create a dashboard in Google Sheets. And one of the really cool things about Google Sheets is it's really easy to share dashboards and reports on here just because it's already online. You don't have to worry about what different versions someone's on like would in Excel, where someone's on an older version, the report may not look the same as what you're seeing. So that's where it can be really useful. And I'm going to show you how to do that really easily. So here I've got some data that shows sales by product, sales rep, and the store. And so the first thing I'm going to do is create some pivot tables. And to create pivot tables in Google Sheets is really simple. Just as long as I'm anywhere on the data source, I can go to Insert, Pivot Table. So just like in Excel, you go to Insert. And I'm going to select the default to New Sheet. It's automatically detecting my range. I'm going to hit the Create button. And now I've got the fields that I can pull in to this pivot table. So I'm going to put total sales under the values. And I'm also going to put in the store for the rows because I want a different breakdown based on all these different options I have. I'm going to uncheck show totals just to get rid of that grand total because I don't want that to be pulled into my chart. And now what I can do is just do a simple copy and paste because it's the same data source. And then instead of store, I'm going to select sales rep in the row section. Again, uncheck totals. Control V again. Get rid of store. And this time I'm going to select the product under the rows. Uncheck the totals. And one more time, this time I'm going to pull in the date. And so with the date, just like in Excel, you're going to want to group this because you're probably not going to want to see every single day. Right click, create pivot date group, and I'm just like year and month. And now I've got a nice summary, and I've got my pivot table set up. Now the one thing you're going to want to account for is how much space you need between these pivot tables, because on here the way I've set it up is if this data gets bigger, it's going to get bigger vertically, not horizontally. So that's why I haven't left a lot of gaps as far as columns between these pivot tables, because there is no danger that they're going to expand horizontally and overlap and cause errors. So if you've got a lot of fields, just take that into account, like how your pivot table might expand, and just make sure you've got enough space so that way there's no overlap. So what I'm going to do now is insert some rows just to push these pivot tables down, because I'm going to have my charts above them just to make it easier to keep them out of the way. And you can push them off to the side, it doesn't matter, but as long as you've got the space between the pivot tables, that's the important piece. So now that the pivot tables are set up, now I'm going to go into inserting the charts. So to insert a chart, I go back to the insert menu, select chart, and now for sales by store, it's defaulting to a pie chart, which is fine. So I'm going to click on this and say sales by store, hit enter, and I'm going to select chart style. I'm going to get rid of that border color just because I don't really care for that. I'm going to add a 3D effect just to make it stand out a little bit. For the setup, what I'm also going to do is update the range, because right now you'll notice it's going from A51 to B61, so from here down to here. So, but the problem is if this expands vertically, I want it to capture those extra rows. So I can just set this to be 100 just to say if there's more stores in there, it'll pick them up. And as you can see, even though I've updated that range, it's not going to impact my chart here. Oops. And so I'm going to drop this chart right there. And now I'm going to create another one for sales rep. Go back to insert chart. And I don't want to do another pie chart. I'm just going to do a bar chart for this one. Again, I'm going to go and adjust the range so it's goes down to 100. And I'm going to change the chart style to get rid of that border color, make it 3D. And then someone's got to be careful with grabbing this. And you'll notice Google Sheets can help you with aligning this charts with the charts, which can make it really helpful. Again, I'll go to the product pivot table, insert a chart. This time I'll do a column chart. And let's go to sales by product. Get rid of the border color. add a 3D impact, and then change the range to 100. And now what I'm going to do is move this above. I'll change this title here. Sales by rep. And now I'm going to create another chart for my dates. And this time I'm going to use a line chart just because showing dates makes a bit more sense. Sales by month. Again, go back into changing some of these. I don't need to change anything else there. Set this to a range of 100. And now I can plot my fourth chart. So now I've got a nice grid of graphs. Okay, now put that right there. So now I've got my four charts. I'm going to add just one more here, and it doesn't really matter which one I use. I'm going to insert chart and use a scorecard here. So the scorecard's cool because you can easily pull in the sales that you filtered for. So by default, it's got this year, month. I don't want that. I'm going to remove that. I'm going to remove a baseline because I'm not comparing anything here. But if I had prior year values, that's what I could use it for. So I'm just going to select total sales. And now that shows me the total of the values here of what I've selected. So I can plop this up here, and again I can adjust this so it's a range of 100. Customize it. Again, get rid of that horrible border. And then you could add a title here like sales dashboard, whatever you want to call it. Just expand it. Right, make sure this is selected, and then set a font size of, let's say, perhaps 50 would be good. Bold it, sure. Right, just so we got a bit of a title. We've got our total sales. Okay, and so I've got a layout of a dashboard. Now, one thing I can add here to make this a bit more dynamic is some slicers. So if I select one of these pivot tables, I can go to Data, add a slicer, and I'll add one for the store. And what I'll do is move this up here just so I can filter from the selections there. And then I made a copy here. And this one I'm going to set to sales rep. So this is what slicers look like in Google Sheets. They're obviously not as user-friendly in Excel where you can just click on your selections or see what you've selected. You've actually got to click into here to see your options. But like with the slicers in Excel, if I make these selections, let's say store A, B, C, and D, hit OK. Now my data is going to automatically update based on those selections. So now I've got my 4 stores in here. All the sales reps are still in there. And my data, now I can see the sales just for those selections. If I want to drill down a bit more, let's say I only want to look at reps A and B, hit OK. Now my values change once again. Now I've only got reps A and B, these 4 stores, and this total based on my selections. And that's why I wanted that metric there. So I'll show you a few things as far as changing the look and feel of these charts. In Google Sheets, there's an option for under formatting for theme. So if you wanted them to have the similar look and feel, you can select one of these options, and then they'll automatically adjust based on that theme, right? So if you leave it the default, you can still make changes manually by yourself. Like let's say if I don't like the color scheme of this pie chart, I can double click on one of these individually. I've selected the value for store B, the red one. I'm going to change this to perhaps a darker blue. This one I can change to a lighter shade of blue, and this one perhaps even lighter than that, right? So you can play around with how you want it to look. If you don't like one of these themes or want to adjust them. Another thing I'll show you is, like these product descriptions are slanted. So if I wanted to change that on the horizontal axis, there's an option for slant labels. Right now it's set for auto. Could set it at 90 degrees, which will make it vertical. I could try to set it to, I could try to set it to 0, but it's not letting me do that just because this is too big. So I can change the font size, let's say down to 10, and now will be enough space for those ones to not be on a slant. So that's in a nutshell how you'd create a dashboard in Google Sheets. Again, really cool because there's a lot of different options in here. There's a lot of different charts you can use as well. And yeah, you can incorporate slices in here to make it a bit more dynamic. And so hope you found that useful, and thanks for watching.